Hey, welcome back to the channel. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at replacing brake pipes. What I've got to do on this car is replace all the brake pipes to the rear wheels, basically from the ABS unit all the way back to each wheel station. Up to this point, the rubber hoses are fine, but this is excessively corroded, especially underneath there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take these off, drain the fluid out, replace them, make new ones in copper, refit them and bleed the brakes up, and then hopefully that will be fine. It did fail the MOT on rusty brake pipes, rear, near side and offside, as well as the front to rear pipe as well, which is this here, and you can see it is fairly corroded. So I'm going to replace all of this all the way to the front, and yeah, we should be able to get an MOT on her. Okay, what we're going to do, this is a piece that I've actually removed from the car. I've cut it off down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a male and female joint here so that I can fit it in two pieces and then a long run down the car. But what I want to do first is get the pipe, and I'm going to flare one end and fit a male union, and then we can shape the pipe so it's roughly the same as this before I fit a female union on the other end. Okay, so male union, that's a brand new male union, and that is a female union, and obviously as you can see they will screw into each other. So what we need to do is we need to fit the pipe. I've got a piece here, this is left over from a previous project, but this is more than long enough for what I'm going to make here. What we need to do is I need to make a flare at the end, using a flaring kit, which is all of these tools in here. That's a pipe cutter, that is the flaring tool, and this is the holding bracket, and each of these little things here are the adapters depending upon the type of flare you're going to use. What we're going to do is we're going to use this one, because that's the one for this pipe. First thing to do is make sure there's no burrs in the end. Don't forget to fit your union. Countless number of times I've actually made a perfect flare and then completely forgot to fit the union on the end. Happens to the best of us. Okay, now this little tool here can actually be fitted into a vise to make this easier, but also it can be used physically on the car, which means that you can cut a pipe and then reflare it without having to physically remove the whole pipe from the car. So what we're going to do is fit the pipe into the tool. Now what I do is I make the pipe so that it is level with the base of the adapter that we're going to use, and that seems to work for me. I'm sure other people have got different methods by which they judge how much pipe they put through, but it's always worked for me, so that's what I'm going to stick with. Then you get your adapter and you fit it in. What it does is it's curved on the inside, and as we apply pressure to it, it rolls out the copper. Now you can obviously make these hoses, these lines, have all different materials. They don't make them out of copper at the factory. Predominantly I think that's because of cost, because copper is an expensive resource. They tend to make them out of I think it's like copper nickel, I think. I'm sure somebody would tell me in the comments, but I think it's copper nickel, and it's good, you know, it does the job, but obviously it doesn't last forever. I mean, copper doesn't last forever, but it's a much more resistant material when it comes to things like corrosion. Obviously you get verdigris on the outside, but the verdigris itself tends to form a protective layer to the material underneath. So copper's a good material for brake pipes, and also it's flexible, so you can bend it where you want it to go. So what I've done, fitted the tool like that. You need to make sure it's nice and level. Let's make sure that's level. There. Now, what we're going to do, tighten it up, and that will push and compress the end of the copper into a nice flare. So that's what we'll do now. There, once it's compressed, like so, you can undo it, back it all the way off, take the tool off. God, done that tight. I wasn't going to fall out of there. And there we have a nice flare. So as you can see, the end of the union fits nicely up against it, and then what that'll do when you tighten that into the aperture that it's going to fit into, be it the end of a brake pipe or a female end, as you compress it, the copper will squish and create a seal. What we'll do though is on a female one, you create a double flare, so it's done in a similar way. However, there's one further step in order to create a double flare, and then a double flare will allow the single flare to fit inside. So when you compress it, it creates a nice seal between the two pipes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bend it to the approximate shape, cut it down, and then create a female flare. Okay, once it's in the orientation and the length that you want it, you can fit your pipe cutter. Now what you do is you simply tighten that down and run it around the pipe, and then every time you go around, just give it a little nip up just to tighten it slightly, and then it'll fall apart just like that. It nicely cuts through. And then don't forget to deburr the end, just to remove any burrs, making sure it's a nice neat end for when you fit your tool back onto it. Okay, like I said, what we're going to do on this one, I'll move that out of the way, don't need that bit anymore. Okay, what we're going to do on this one is we're going to make a female flare. So don't forget, fit your union before you fit the tool. Like I said before, easily done. Fit your pipe back into your tool. For a double flare, I give marginally more pipe through, only a little bit more though, you don't need too much. And again, clamp it all down, making sure it's all square, and then, as before, tighten it up. So what we'll have the same type of flare as we had at the other end, except this time we need to take one more step, and that is to push it back through the tool ever so slightly, tighten it back down. It doesn't have to be sticking out much. Then what we do, refit this tool, but without the adapter this time. Again, making sure it's nice and square, and then simply compress it down. And what it'll do, it'll open it up into a double flare. Split your gloves open. And then there's your female end. Now what you've done is you've opened it up and you've allowed you now made it available to accept that end. So if you, when I make the next pipe, I will put a male flare on the end that this is going to receive, and then that will pop nicely into there inside of this flare that I've created, and then when they're tightened together, it'll form a nice seal, and hopefully it won't leak. Okay, so I guess I better crack on and make some more pipes.